Hey CrossFitters, unless you live under a rock, by now you've heard terms like probiotics, beneficial flora, good bacteria, and things like that being thrown around and how it relates to your digestion and your immune system. But probiotics do a lot more than just help our digestive process and our immune systems to be nice and strong. They help with every single facet of our health, so hormonal balance, thyroid health, brain function, weight balancing, all these different things. I'm ErinTheBeast, founder of ErinTheBeast.com and creator of the Beast Mode Method, a custom-built program for hardcore CrossFitters who want to dominate at the box. And today we are going to talk about how to make your own probiotic, basically, with fermented foods. A lot of times people are just running to the health food store and they're buying a probiotic off the shelf. And a lot of times the probiotics that you can buy off the shelves are not all that great. Because of the lack of regulations and things like that for certain supplements, the things that you buy over the counter, some of them are good or okay, but the majority of them are not going to bypass that stomach acid. And so as soon as you take that pill, poof, it's gone. All that beneficial bacteria is doing no good for you because your stomach acid is killing it all, or it's not pH balanced properly. There could be a million other issues with the delivery of the supplement. So the best way to get those probiotics and that beneficial bacteria is through fermented foods. Now, this can be anything from pickles, sauerkraut, kvass, coconut kefir, things like that. A lot of times people think about yogurt as a really good fermented food to get beneficial bacteria from. But again, because of the processing and the sugars and the additives and all these other things that they put into yogurt to actually make it taste good, it really negates the benefits, and a lot of times those cultures are actually dead by the time that you consume the product, and you're not, getting those benefits from them. There are some really awesome brands, like Bubby's Pickles is one that I recommend a lot to my clients if they want to, forego the making of the ferments, or they don't, feel comfortable doing it, and this video will help you with that. You can also buy fermented pickles and sauerkrauts and things like that that are not heated and they're not pasteurized, so that probiotic is still alive and active in that food. Not just any old pickle, off the shelf will do. It has to be one that hasn't been treated to kill the bacteria, no heating, no pasteurization or anything like that, and it'll say on the jar, live active cultures. They'll really brag about that if there are those cultures in their product. Today I'm going to show you that it's not that hard, it's not that scary to make your own fermented vegetables. I have everything pretty much prepped here for us. So what I have is a big baking dish that you would bake, roast your veggies in or whatever. And I've shredded in my food processor 14 carrots, 5 small beets, like smaller than the size of my fist, probably about 3 knuckles worth, so pretty small beets, and then 1 head of radicchio, which I may or may not be pronouncing correctly. It's basically like a small red cabbage, and it was like this size. I took the 2 leaves off because we're going to need these to really cup everything down and make sure everything stays submerged. So that was the original size, so size-wise what you're looking for everything. And then I took like 1 inch of ginger root and just kind of shredded that with everything else too. And then I have, this is like 1.5 liters mason jar, and I am using a pickle-it jar, and I'll show you why this is so awesome as we get this all packed in here. And pickle-it is pickle-ie.com, okay? No E in the pickle. Okay, so you can go to their website and get the information on their pickle-it jars and things like that, and why it's better than just using a regular old mason jar. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through this process too. So I've shredded all of my veggies, and I'm going to take my jar, okay, And we're going to pack this all in here. And it may look like this is not going to fit in here, but we are going to make sure that it does. So basically what you're going to do is you're just going to start scooping, throwing everything in. And as we're scooping, every couple spoonfuls, I'm going to press this down, okay? Because we want to get rid of any air that's in here. Oh, I've also added 19 grams of sea salt to the veggies and massage that in, make sure they're all coated in that, let it settle for like 30 minutes, and then pack it into the jar. And you need that sea salt to help the ferment to do what it's supposed to do and get the beneficial bacteria going. Do not use table salt, okay? You need to use a good quality, pure sea salt. Table salt will not work in this. It won't happen because table salt is very toxic. It's just a bunch of chemicals, basically. But sea salt has all the minerals and all that good stuff, those electrolytes, oopsie, all that good stuff that our bodies need and that the ferment needs to actually ferment. So 19 grams, and I just weighed that out on my food scale. It's about 1/8 of a cup is about how much sea salt that is. So we're going to pack this all down. We want to get as much of the air out of the jar as humanly possible because we are making a lacto-fermented ferment here. And basically what that means is a lot of people think lactose, so they think like it's dairy-based or something like that, and that's not true. We're basically using lactic acid to create this ferment. So we're not using any vinegar or anything like that. We're just going to be doing the sea salt water brine. And what's happening is we're creating an anaerobic environment, which means without oxygen. With oxygen or aerobic, we would be creating a lot of the bad bacteria and mold, and it would just be nasty and you wouldn't want to eat this. But with an anaerobic environment, we're actually going to be creating the beneficial bacteria. So that's where these jars really come into play, the picklet jars. So if you're using a regular mason jar, which is fine, and you can start out that way, I've done it that way before too, you have to quote-unquote burp the ferment every couple of days, which means you have to let out the carbon dioxide and all of the other gases that the ferment is producing as it's fermenting the food. And when you do that, you're obviously letting oxygen back in, which can potentially create some of the bad bacteria overgrowth, which we don't want. What this jar is going to do is it's going to prevent that from happening because we're going to have this little doohickey on top, which has some different little holes, little tiny holes, and we're going to fill this with water, and it's going to allow those gases to come out through the water, but it's not going to allow new oxygen back in. So we never have to open the jar until we're ready to eat our fermented foods. So we're really packing this in here, packing it down. And since I've massaged in that sea salt and that pulls some of the water out of the veggies, you'll notice that there's some water. Like if I push this down, you can maybe or maybe not see that there's some water coming up in here, some moisture coming out of those vegetables. So that is really good. That's what we want because we need the moisture, and I might top it off with a little bit of water here too. We need that moisture to cover the veggies completely so that they don't go bad. And you're going to fill it, take a little bit of this out, actually I have more than enough here. I'm going to fill it to what's called the shoulder of the jar, which is right where it starts to curve here. So I'm going to fill it right to that spot. Okay, I'm going to pack it down, pack it down. You can even take a knife and kind of go around those edges a little bit and let all that extra oxygen out. more. Okay. Yeah, I think we need a little bit of extra water in there. So I'm going to take some reverse osmosis water. You don't want to just put water from your tap in here because that has a ton of chemicals and nasty stuff that you don't want in your ferment. So I'm just adding a little bit of reverse osmosis water, and you can get this at your grocery store. They usually have one of those machines where you can fill your own bottles. Don't use just, you know, spring water or any kind of bottled water, because usually that's just tap water. So you want to make sure that if you do buy just like a bottle of water, like a liter of water or something like that, that it says it's reverse osmosis or processed by reverse osmosis on the bottle, because you do not want to be adding any impure waters into your ferment. I'm going to add a little bit more because I want to make sure that this is completely covered here. There we go. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one or two of my leaves here, and I'm going to press it into the jar. You want to cover up all those little pieces of the shredded carrots and beets and whatnot. And you don't have to use carrots and beets. You can do it all with cabbage, you can do it all with cucumber, you can do garlic, you can do whatever you want, really. The sky is the limit. So I want to cover all those little pieces so that nothing pokes out. And then I'm going to take, you can get these on the pickleIt.com website too. It's called a dunker. It just acts as a weight to just hold this down and underwater. Just make sure that everything is submerged. Submerge. Okay. And then we're going to put our lid on. Lock it down. And put this little guy in here. And there's like a little seal, plastic seal, rubber seal on there. And then I'm going to fill this up to the fill line. There we go. And that's going to allow, again, all of those gases to come out and not allow any oxygen in. And there you go. It's that easy. Now what I'm going to do, because I want this to stay in a dark place, is I'm just going to wrap like a bathroom towel around it. I'm going to stick it in a closet for 2 to 4 weeks. The longer it ferments, the more potent it's going to be. Also, the more strong the taste will be. So you might want to start with 2 weeks, see how that goes for your first jar, and then next time go up to 3 weeks, up to 4 weeks, and just see, you know, what your taste buds like. When you're eating your fermented foods, I recommend eating them every single day to provide that good bacteria for the digestive system. Like I said, the digestive system absolutely needs that good bacteria for you to thrive and for you to be healthy. All of our health, everything stems from the gut. So if your gut is not healthy, your hormones aren't going to be in balance. You're going to be fatigued. You could have, you know, other glandular issues like adrenal fatigue. You know, you could have developed food sensitivities. There's, you know, diabetes, a million other things could come from not having enough beneficial flora. So what I would do is I would eat probably before, I would start at least with before every single meal. So like three times a day, eating at least 1/4 of a cup of your fermented foods. And you might find that you really start to crave them and you just want them like all the time. Sometimes what will happen, especially if you have some real gnarly digestive issues going on, is as soon as you start eating fermented foods, your stomach might feel a little weird, and that's usually a die-off reaction of the bad bacteria being killed off by the beneficial bacteria from the ferment. If that happens, what you need to do is pull it back a little bit. Cut the amount of fermented foods down that you're eating to maybe like half, and see how your tummy feels then. And once it starts to feel better, then you can slowly and gradually start to increase the amount of fermented foods that you're eating, as long as that die-off reaction is not happening. Because we don't want you to be, experiencing that, because as that bad bacteria is dying off, and if you're feeling that die off, that's a lot of gases and toxins and other nasty things that you're having released into your system that the liver isn't able to process as quickly as it should. So you want to ease off of that a little bit so that the liver can actually do its job. So that's basically it. I mean, I'm just going to wrap this guy up and shove it in a closet in 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see how it is. I'm ErinTheBeast, and what I need you to do now is go to my website at ErinTheBeast.com and download your free gift, The Beast Mode Method Fundamentals, which will help you to bring out your inner beast at the box. I'll see you later. Bye.